Good evening. Welcome to Divine Speech in African Traditionalism. I am your host, Augustine Ayinibisah Ayelah. To seek permission to speak, I rise before my father and my mother, the two individuals who taught me right from wrong. I rise before my grandfather and grandmother, whom I call my first ancestors. I rise before the deities, the land deities, the water deities, and the sky deities. I rise before the goddesses, especially the goddess Ma'at, to grant me balance so that this interview will be productive. I rise before the gods, especially the god Yehuti, the God that taught human beings how to read and write and has endowed me with the power of speech to do this work on a weekly basis. And finally, I rise before the Supreme Being, Amon-Ra, who my tradition Bakabko calls Na-Wene, Naba, Lenwene, to grant a staying power, so that after this interview, Ghanians, especially, who are abroad, would rally behind this organization so that we succeed in getting our vote. With this prayer, I know I'm permitted to speak. Ghana was the first African country south of the Sahara to gain independence from its colonial master, Great Britain. It then went on, under the leadership of its founder, Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, to almost single-handedly deliver an entire enslaved race to freedom. With this background, one would think Ghana would be ahead in innovations as far as proper governance is concerned, especially on electoral reform. But not yet. At least not yet. It's almost as if Ghana wants to prove the biblical saying in Matthew 20:16 right by its action or inaction. Ghana, the beacon of African liberation, is way behind when it comes to providing voting rights to all its citizens. This is where the Progressive Alliance movement comes in. Among its goals is to turn the country around, to let the Electoral Commission do its job by implementing legislation that should deliver the vote to the millions of Ghanaians in the diaspora. And as you are well aware, there cannot be an organization without a point man. To articulate this for us today is Mr. Kofi Koranteng, the CEO of P.A.M. Mr. Koranteng, welcome to Divine Speech.
Thank you, Brother Ayala. Thank you so much for welcoming us to your studios, to your audience. We are incredibly appreciative of the honor. Hopefully by the time we're done here today, we'd have met, maybe even perhaps exceeded your expectation of us inviting us to come here. So we're thankful.
Good. Now I wanted to read your bio, but I might as well let you do it yourself. Tell us about yourself, your upbringing, and how not all people are dedicated to courses. How you came about doing this thing that when I met you at Ghana Mission, you were able to persuade me that this is a noble cause. Tell us about yourself.
Well, thank you again. It's simple. I'm not going to take, I'm sure we have at some point in our conversation, things will pop up. But, I was born in Ghana. went to school, like the normal trend, went through England,
Mm-hmm.
London,
Okay.
to be precise, and then I came to the U.S., went to university here, NYU, graduated, worked, and for many years of my life, been a bit, finance is my background.
Okay.
So did many things in terms of projects. By the end of it all, you get to a point in your life where you see there is not only a disconnect, but you feel there's a shortfall.
Mm-hmm.
And the shortfall wasn't money.
Right.
The shortfall was being able to give back. And then also as a concerned citizen, obviously, you get to a point in my numerous visits to Ghana, you see what's going on and you ask yourself how you are able to help. What is your contribution to life?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why that becomes a huge concern and a big question is you take a look at everything you're blessed with.
Right.
People who have come your way, who have helped you, and it raises questions in yourself that how committed are you to the course of you taking the baton and moving on with the baton in helping, moving the process of help so that somebody else will be blessed through things that you do. So the question became, what's your contribution to life?
Mm-hmm.
And at that point in your life, you stop and you sit down and have a conversation with yourself, and you see that you lack
Okay.
in the area of also contributing to the very blessing that has brought you this far. So that's why we formed an organization, because we were in a quest to find out how we'll be able to help the way Ghana was going. A couple of times, friends of mine had put together projects that we thought the Ghanaian government could use to help them in different areas. Mm-hmm. Help with their tax system, help with businesses, help with some things maybe on a social basis that we thought could elevate the communities. And it didn't happen.
Right.
It didn't happen for many reasons. This is not a political conversation, so we're not going to get into that. But after a deep analysis of what was going on, came to the realization that an incredible ingredient missing in the process was the fact that people who have amassed so much,
Right.
Ghanaians living abroad who by different courses have gained so much in value in their lives, were in a way constricted to giving back to their country.
Right.
If you take a look at the remittances going back to Ghana, billions of dollars every year going back to Ghana. Mm-hmm. There's some bigger human capital that could go back with that remittances.
True.
And there was no way that pipeline was open. So we needed to find a way to bring that human capital back to Ghana, because so many people complain so many times that they wanted to come to Ghana and help, but we didn't have any systems to take people on. We didn't have the infrastructure to take people on. Mm-hmm. And we found out that, listen, it's because people are not engaged in the process. We were not part of the policy-making process. We were not part of anything because we couldn't vote.
Right.
So that's when we realized that, hey, listen, the only way we're going to be able to make this process work mm-hmm. Sustainably is to get Ghanaians living abroad to vote. Okay. And it's our constitutional right. Right. There is a law that it's in effect. It's actually, and I'll tell you the story at some point, but Act 699, mm-hmm. If you make reference to our Constitution, that states, and I'm paraphrasing, that if you're 18 years of age, you were born in Ghana, and you're of sound mind, right. You can vote. wherever your residence country is, you know, and even though it's a law, it's not implemented. People can't believe that. I mean, it's a major human rights violation, but nobody's out there advocating for its implementation. So the Progressive Alliance movement, as one of our major objectives, is there's absolutely no way we're going to be able to help Ghana if Ghanaians cannot vote. Because the people that we heed to only respond to one thing,
Right.
vote.
The vote.
You know, if a politician don't think you can affect them in any way, then they're not going to heed to you. So the organization Progressive Alliance Movement is in existence. Well, it's in existence for many other human rights issues, but mainly to start the process, we need to be able to vote first.
Right.
And that's what we're currently doing.
So it came into existence what year? Progressive Alliance.
Well, Progressive Alliance Movement has been in the late 2011 was when Progressive Alliance Movement was formed.
Okay.
Okay, but the law
Right.
in 2000 and actually in 2005,
Okay.
13 Ghanaians, you know, with the leadership of Dr. Boateng,
Okay.
Dr. Kofi Boateng, Kofi Roper, everybody knows him by Kofi Roper, went to Ghana and bid to the then president of Ghana, President Kufuor,
Okay.
to pass this law.
Right.
And he introduced it to Parliament, and it went through its deliberations, and it got passed as a law.
Okay.
Okay, and it became Act 699. And that came to sanction in February 2006.
Okay.
So it officially became law in February 2006.
Right.
But it just became law, and everybody forgot about it. So now what we're saying is if Parliament has made it into a law, and they have given it to their responsible agency, which is the Electoral Commission, to implement it, and they have not implemented, we want answers. Why hasn't it been implemented? You know, we don't know why Electoral Commission has not implemented it. You know, and what we're saying is, if the Electoral Commission is saying that they cannot implement a law, they have to give an explanation as to why they can't implement. We don't have such an explanation. So, and there are different school of thoughts as to why the Electoral Commission cannot go forward. But our argument is before it became a law, it was deliberated over in the Parliament.
Right.
So obviously the knowledgeable representatives in Parliament obviously knew what they were talking about, or at least we like to believe that they knew what they were talking about when it was deliberated upon. So you cannot come back and make a case after it's been deliberated upon and made into law. It's almost as if the Republicans in this country fighting over the Affordable Care Act after it became a law, and say, you with me? But it's a law.
Yes.
You with me? So, and obviously our structure in Ghana is a little bit different, so you can't have states contest it like they're doing here as far as the Affordable Care Act is, but it's a law, so implement it. But it hasn't been. So we are we are making our case to the Supreme Court to, since they're the interpreters of the law, to ask them to force the responsible agency of government, which is the Electoral Commission, to implement it. And if they have, at that point, if they have questions, I mean, they have reasons for not implementing it, they're gonna let us know.
But the thing is, normally a legislative process takes place, a law is enacted, the president signs the law into effect, and it has to be carried on.
Absolutely.
How is that possible that in Ghana, an agency of government will refuse both the parliamentary procedures and also the executive signature of a law?
Your guess is as good as mine. We're yet to find it out. We don't know. All we know is it hasn't been implemented, and we want to know why. And we want the Supreme Court to compel them to implement it. It's just as simple as that. So, our argument is, listen, if the Ghanaians living abroad had been in Ghana, we would be part of regions, correct?
Yes.
We would be part of constituencies.
Yes.
And if that's the case, then obviously an arrangement one way or the other would have been made by the Electoral Commission to accommodate our voting. So are you saying that just by virtue of us changing our location, you have deprived us of that?
We could move from Brong-Ahafo to Western region.
Exactly.
And where Ghanaians
so long as we register,
to be able to vote.
Absolutely.
Right.
And if we represent such a critical constituency based on our contribution to the country, I think we need to be recognized. Rightfully so. I can't even think of a resistance to our being able to vote. It just doesn't make economic sense.
How are the Ghanaian population abroad, how are they responding to you? Most of us don't know anything about ROPA.
That's correct.
And I'm wondering why this is not getting to the mainstream Ghanaian organizations.
Well, you got to understand, you cannot salivate for something you don't even know you had.
Right.
So this thing has not gotten explosive because people have not been made to know that they had it in the first place. That's the genius of this whole system. Mm-hmm. People don't even know it exists. And the people who know a little about it don't even know it's a law. They think it's something we are fighting to make it a law. And people keep telling us, hey, listen, they're not going to pass a law. Wait a minute, we're not fighting to get a law passed. It's already a law. Oh, we didn't know it was a law. It is a law. And people are blown away. When we sat down, we had a conversation with Honorable Charles Rangel.
Okay.
He couldn't even believe it. He was like, wait, you can't tell me, what? You mean it's a law and it hasn't been implemented? What is that? You know? So a lot of the Ghanaians are not even aware of the fact that it is a law. People have heard it in conversations, in debates, political debates, but people think it's not the law. So people don't even think they deserve it. So,
now, I read Kofi Koranteng's piece, and he's talking about some people are saying that because we don't pay taxes in Ghana,
yeah, I mean,
we should not be entitled to vote.
That's the most ridiculous thing. We sent home, quite honestly, if it wasn't for the fact that we bring in so much remittance power, the economy will probably be collapsed by now.
Yes.
And it doesn't even make sense because the math of it is if we can put billions of dollars into the economy and you flying over here to solicit, beg, literally beg for money, why don't you come to us? We have a financial interest in the country.
Sure.
We have our relatives there, we have our families, we have projects there that we need to put money into. So it's not a thing of a choice to us, it's a necessity. It has to be done.
Right.
So if you came to us and you look, you talk to us for money, you would be in a better position to get the money. So in terms of economics, it doesn't even make sense. So it boggles everybody's mind why this has been such a hustle, why everybody's resistant. I mean, there is a big, there are some, there is a mysticism out there because, of course, you understand there are two major political parties in Ghana. Okay. The NDC and the MPP. So the MPP is scared that if ROPA is passed, the NDCs are going to use it against them. And the NDCs are scared if ROPA is passed, the MPP is going to use it against it, because everybody thinks that their constituencies, people who are sympathetic to these parties, are positioned outside of Ghana.
Mm-hmm.
And for whatever grid that they have imaginary, they think that, and it's funny because it's caused a stalemate. Everybody thinks somebody's going to use this against them, and they've ended up not implementing, not causing it to be implemented.
Right.
So now the country suffers and we in limbo.
Okay.
You know, so that's the situation now.
Now, you know, the Electoral Commission had some help from the European Union. We are trying to implement this biometric machinery in Ghana. Besides the Supreme Court, has your organization tried to contact these various donor nations to see whether they can put pressure on the Electoral Commission to implement this ROPA?
Donor countries or democratic organizations don't put pressure on our Electoral Commission.
Okay.
If the Supreme Court is not implementing something, there's got to be a reason.
Okay.
And you cannot begin to solve a problem till you have a deep understanding of the problem. First of all, the Electoral Commission has not even publicly made it aware that they have a problem. So till they make it specific that this is our problem, we can't even begin to solve the problem. So what we're doing is we're causing the Supreme Court to force them to identify what the problem is.
Okay.
So that once we know what the problem is, then we can then go for help. We don't know what the problem is. Why haven't you implemented it? They haven't been able to tell us. They may know, but it hasn't been told. We don't have a record of how many Ghanaians are in all the different constituencies abroad. We don't know. If they have a website or if they've done some analytical research to prove to us that, hey, listen, we may have too many people than our funding now can accommodate, then we will know it's a money issue. We don't have that. So they need to get to work and let us know. And that's why we're going to the Supreme Court. This is not a matter where we're going to allow them to dance. We're coming to them with big guns, and we're saying, hey, listen, get this thing done. It's our right. Listen, how long are we going to sit on the, and wait? We're not going to wait. The Supreme Court is going to compel them to implement it or tell us why it's not implemented. Because now if you tell us ABC is why we're not implementing it, then we know specifically how to take care of it.
Now, these are a list of African countries whose citizens participate in the electoral process while abroad. Even the youngest nation, Sudan, South Sudan, guarantees its citizens the right to vote. Ghana, the nation that led Africa's liberation, seems to be the last country to recognize that even though some of her citizens are abroad, they are still her citizens. And nonetheless, am I wrong here?
You're absolutely right. I mean, this is what blows our minds. And even at the Ghana embassy, from what we have heard, is actually part of they supervise some of these African countries in Ghana. These nations that have citizens in Ghana, Ghana takes care of them. So it's not even the argument of we may not even know what to do doesn't even hold. Why? Is because we do it for other people. So if we could do it for other people, how much more us, your own citizens? So it's a huge concern. And even if we didn't know how to do it, this is not reinventing the wheel. So many nations have been able to do it. So if the Electoral Commission is saying, hey, listen, we don't have a system in place to do this, all you have to do is just look over your shoulder and copy a system from somebody who's done it successfully. That's all.
I'm just going to give a list of a few countries in Africa, the date of their independence, and whether they guarantee the vote to their citizens or not. Chad, got their independence on August 11, 1960.
Mm-hmm.
They have the vote. Ivory Coast got independence August 7, 1960. They have the vote. Mali got their independence September 22nd, 1960. They have the vote. Mauritania, November 28, 1960. They have the vote. Mozambique, June 25th, 1975. They have the vote. Namibia, March 21, 1990. They have the vote. Niger, August 3, 1960. They have the vote. Senegal, August 20th, 1960. They have the vote. South Africa majority rule, April 27, 1994. They have the vote. Ghana, March 6, 1957. We don't have the vote.
Yeah.
Mr. Koranteng, is there something wrong with us?
Well, you know, I don't think there's something wrong with us. This is, of course, this is deliberate. And we can, you know, Ghanaians are beautiful people. Ghanaians are incredibly smart people. But I think the decision to implement this law obviously maybe perhaps miscalculated, maybe overlooked, but I think it's time to move forward and get this thing implemented. We could point fingers, we could say who should have done this, woulda, coulda, shoulda. We're not going to go that route. We want to get it done so we can move forward, because there are good citizens of Ghana who need our help. I'm not saying that Ghanaians living abroad are the only people who could deliver Ghana from its plight. That's not what we're saying. But we're saying that we have something we want to go and help our brothers and sisters with. And we should be able to be allowed to do that.
We should not just be disenfranchised.
Absolutely.
Because I see this is basically what is happening in red states in the United States, that they're creating roadblocks so that
Absolutely.
other people don't vote. And I think we should not be denied the right to vote either. Not just because of the fact that we're not at home. And when other countries can do it. If they can find the money, the resources to do it, I think we should be able to find the resources
Absolutely.
too. Yeah. We were looking at some clips about P.A.M on the web. And they're very, very informative. Can you tell us a little bit about them?
Well, you know, the people who are involved in P.A.M, people who are sympathetic to what we're doing,
Right.
once they know what our situation is and what we're fighting for, are very passionate about what we're doing.
Okay.
Some people are just darn right out angry.
Right.
Because they just like you enlisted, it's just unthinkable to have a country, you know, like Ghana, with everything that we've been able to do and where we have come from, be a country that's going to deny its citizens living abroad the benefit of voting just to help. So people are passionate, and if you listen to these clips, you would hear people in different ways being very colorful about their expressions as to, you know, how they feel about the leaderships that are in power, that which have come, and where the country is going. I mean, they have their own very colorful expressions as to what's going on.
Right.
But, you know, one thing that I want to be very clear on is that Progressive Alliance Movement is not a political organization.
Okay.
It's non-political, non-ethnic, you know, and we deal on the basis of just human rights for Ghanaians.
Okay.
We're not supportive to any political party. We just want Ghanaians living abroad to have the power to be able to vote so that they could be part of the system of elevating Ghana to a whole different status.
Right.
That's what we're about. So I just want to make that clear. So I know, people think, oh, well, it has some undertones, or because people, like I said, are very colorful, because this involves a lot of emotion. People
Sure.
are upset
Mm-hmm.
with everything that's going on in Ghana, and rightfully so. But our position is we're not political, and we make sure everybody understands and knows that. That's why we are a 501c3 organization
Okay.
with a full tax-exempt status,
Right.
operating in New York. So that's our position.
I see. But you had your inauguration at the Riverside Church?
That's correct.
And
Last year, July 12th, we had inauguration at the Riverside Church on Riverside Drive in Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
And we had some great speakers like Herb Boyd.
Okay.
The Honorable Charlie Rangel was our keynote speaker. We had Dr. Boateng there to speak. We had a slew of speakers come in. We had people coming there to speak because they understand the importance of Ghanaians living abroad to vote.
Okay.
Okay, so they came and helped us with the celebration to get the word out, and it was an opportunity also to raise some money for what we are doing, because it is important.
Right. Now, I read that, again, going back to Dr. Boateng's article, he talked about fear. And I have never, heard anybody define fear the way Dr. Boateng defined it. What is this fear that Ghanaians who are in decision-making positions are afraid of?
Well, Brother Ayala, this is what you need to understand. And now that you talk about fear, what is fear? When you're fearful of something, you anticipate something that has pain related to it.
Okay.
The anticipation of pain is fear. That's what fear is. Now, pain in what form? Pain in a form of what you think maybe perhaps repercussions, consequences of actions that you take may be.
Right.
So obviously, if you're not doing something right, and even with every decision or every action, there is an equal, or the opposite, an equal reaction to it. So what I'm saying is whatever you do, there are consequences, good or bad, correct?
Okay.
So obviously, if you have an anticipation that some things that you have done in the past is going to cause you to have some maybe negative consequences, then you have reason to fear.
Right.
But if you have done the right thing for the people, then you have no reason to fear, because you did it
The right way.
the right way.
Mm-hmm.
So the only reason why people are fearful that we are able to vote is because maybe perhaps they have reason to think that they didn't do something right.
Right. Now, if Roper or the Supreme Court is able to instruct the Electoral Commission to implement or promulgate Roper, how will Ghanaians be voting, especially those who are abroad? Where will they vote? Where would they go to vote?
Well, that's the mandate of the Electoral Commission. That's not my job.
Okay.
My job as a citizen is to force to make sure, or for them to create the necessary apparatus for me to go and vote.
Right.
So I will respect the Electoral Commission because it's their mandate to come out with how we're going to be able to do that. But you have places like the Ghanaian missions all over the world.
Okay.
You have people there, you have staff there, just like they do with all the other embassies of all the different countries. This is not rocket science. This is not something that has not been done before.
Okay.
Apparently, as you read, there have been a lot of countries in sub-Saharan Africa that are going through the same process.
Right.
And they do it pretty well
Okay.
with positive results. So what is the problem? I mean, it shouldn't even be a topic for discussion because, listen, the best way to, if you don't know something, you copy somebody you find somebody who's done it well and gotten the results, and you copy them.
Right.
That's the smartest way, right?
True.
Well,
We'll find out.
we got a bunch of them. You with me? So
Yes.
it's a no
Ivory
issue.
Coast is the next door neighbor.
Are you
if
kidding
they
me?
can do it.
Are you kidding me? I mean, it's there for us to just go and get.
But looking at the calendar, we are already in July.
That's correct.
And we're going to be having an election in Ghana in 2016.
That's correct.
Do you think we will be able to get you, P.A.M, and I'm saying we because of the fact that I'm part of this.
Okay.
I'm a Ghanaian. I don't want to be disenfranchised. I also want to vote. So when I say we, I know I'm talking to you as, CEO of P.A.M, but I want to be inclusive. I want to be part of it.
Excellent.
When will we be able to vote in 2016?
Absolutely. See, this is what you got to understand. First of all, the Electoral Commission they may already probably even have their apparatus in place.
Right.
We don't know that yet.
Right.
So we're making an assumption on something that needs to be demystified.
Okay.
We don't know. But now you could slice through all the possible scenarios why this could be a challenge.
Right.
And whatever the challenge is, it could be taken care of in a period of weeks.
Right.
We just need a system, an infrastructure.
Okay.
You got to understand. You see, Ghanaians living abroad are the easiest block to do anything with. You know why? Because we all are registered citizens of this country or of Ghana. For you
Right.
to be in this country or any other country outside of Ghana, you have to have papers.
Yes.
Some sort,
Right.
right? So that paperwork is what identifies you as who you are.
Right.
So the identification process is the most difficult things to establish when you go through this, because once you establish an identification, what else is there? You just need to count the identification
Right.
as being one way or the other, right? Why would that take months to do? Are you with me?
I got it.
So whatever process you come out with the innovations that we have around today, it's a matter of a click. A couple of clicks and you on your way. If you have the identification established, everybody here already has a passport. Even if it's expired, it's still a passport, correct? So it's an identification. So if the question becomes, well, if it's expired, you need to renew it. How long does that take? We may not be able to do 100% of registrants, but if Ghanaians living abroad know that this is a progressive move forward in the system that has been delayed for so many years, at least we know we're moving in the right direction, and that can be accepted. But for us not to do anything, it's certainly not the way to solve the problem.
Mr. Koranteng, the last time we met at Ghana Mission, your argument was compelling enough for me to understand. I was persuaded to become a member of P.A.M. Collectively, P.A.M. and DSAT, that is Divine Speech in African Traditionalism, should have a larger audience. Can you articulate your objectives as you did at Ghana Mission to those who will be tuning in on Saturday when Divine Speech is aired? Tell us about the difficulties you're having with the money to get to the Supreme Court, how you appeal to the Ghanaians to see how they can help P.A.M.
Thank you. Let me just say this for the last couple of minutes that we have, and I think we're going to, we sunsetting into this program. And if you're listening to me, I really want you to take a few minutes to listen very well, because this is incredibly important. This is monumental in terms of the moment that we're in as Ghanaians living abroad. We have a one shot, one kill. Now, that could be a bad analogy, but I'm talking like a Navy SEAL right now.
Mm-hmm.
This is incredibly important. So we need to make sure that this happens. And by that, I mean we need to come together as a people. We need to support Progressive Alliance movement. And by that, we need to support Progressive Alliance movement with money. Why? Let me tell you this. We are flying attorneys from here in the United States to Ghana. Obviously, the reason is if you have not been admitted to the bar in Ghana, you cannot submit a case to the Supreme Court. Mm-hmm. So the attorneys we are flying to Ghana are going in as supporting attorneys to the attorneys that we have in Ghana to put the case together and make it stronger still. So it becomes an incredibly expensive feat. And yes, the money has been coming in drips and drabs, and if we don't get this in on time, now we have a lot of commitments, people who want to give us money, but our challenge is the time. We need to have a massive impact in a compressed time strain so we could get all the monies in, pay the attorneys, put this thing through the court system, and get this thing to the Electoral Commission and get it implemented. Okay. And then give them also enough time for them to put together the institutional infrastructures to accommodate our voting so that it will be on time for the 2016 election, general election. So we are calling on you, Ghanaians and lovers of the Ghanaian people. We need your help. We need you to go to our website, P.A.M, Progressive Alliance Movement, GH.org, PAMGH.org, and donate. Now, donate handsomely and call your friends and family members and tell them to also help you in this regard. We need you. This is our time. This is our moment. We need to make this thing happening. We have a one-time shot. We can't let this thing go by, so join us. Thank you so much for being part of this wonderful program. Brother Ayala, this was beautiful having us come over here to tell us what is so dear to our hearts. And we hope that the entire Ghanaian community, people who know Ghanaians, people who've been to Ghana, will join us in making something that's a basic human rights issue to go through the system. And if you have any influence whatsoever, this is a time you push to make this thing happen so that we'll be able to just pound on our chest and say, hey, listen, when this thing happened, I was part of this movement that made this thing happen. We're so thankful to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Koranteng. African traditionalism is different. Different is not deficient. Different is not devilish. Different is not uncivilized. Different is not ungodly. And different is not primitive either. Africans have used all kinds of methods since time immemorial to connect with their Maker. For those of you who are my regular viewers, I thank you for your patronage. And for those of you tuning in for the first time, continue to tune in because we have just embarked on a study of African traditionalism. And please try to donate to P.A.M so that we as Ghanaians are not disenfranchised as citizens of our beloved land. May Amon-Ra, whom my tradition calls now winning, never let winning, continue to bless you. Take care.
it has been my dream to really belong to a movement or a group of able Ghanaians from all walks of life that really thinks about Ghana and how Ghana will move forward.
When I heard about Progressive Alliance movement, I said, this is the time that all Ghanaians, organizations, social clubs, and so on and so forth, should come under one umbrella to have one voice, not only in Ghana, but in the United States as well. Because if we are not united here, we are not going to go anywhere.
What I see in Progressive Alliance movement, and one of the reasons why I joined, their philosophy is, let us leave this world, and for that matter, Ghana, in a better shape than we found it, for the common good.
I actually got attracted because this have no money involved. This is a concerned Ghanaians trying to come together to better the future of Ghanaians. And as a young lady or as a Ghanaian, I'm more concerned for my generation to have better economy, to have better leadership. So since there's no money involved and they are actually concerned about helping the people, I got attracted to help and also bring awareness to my age group.
We are not a political party. This is a movement, Progressive Alliance movement. You see, our aims and objectives is that our leaders will have to change their ways. Make sure they do what is right. Now, when it gets to a point whereby what we ask we don't get, then we will have to change our focus and become a political party, because what? We want to put someone in place who will do what the people ask him to do.
Since Kwame Nkrumah, we haven't seen any effective leader in Ghana who has been able to bring the form of infrastructure and developmental goals Ghana needs.
We have realities of life and we have fiction, or when people want to make joke of things. The country that we're coming from, Ghana, is a great country, regardless of what people say or people think. But Ghana has a unique place in the world. Before colonialism, before the white man thought of coming to Ghana, that geographical location had its own unique structure that God Almighty gave to that country. But people with greed and selfishness have decided to turn that country into something else.
Now there is a saying in my language, my dialect, if you making a path and you don't look behind you to see if it's straight, you might end up making a crooked path. But the one behind you who sees where you are heading knows exactly that you are not heading towards the right direction. So it's about time the people wake up, come together, speak to our leaders and say, listen, the way you are ruling the land is not right for the people, because there's so much suffering going on. And we got to the point that it will take only few to wake up and say that, and then others will come into place.
As we, Progressive Alliance movement, we wanted to be the voice and hold the party responsible of whatever they promise the country. We are not MPP, NDC, or any party affiliated. We are independent and we are all Ghanaians, and our goal is for better Ghana and for our generation to come.
I grew up in Accra, near the High Court opposite the High Court, we have a public building. We call it the community center. And at the entrance, it is written, Kwaboni ehi, Kwaboni ehi ofel, kanyeme mefe ekomi kahishine. That's also from the Bible. You and I should live together to uplift Ghana. You cannot do it alone, I cannot do it alone. And that is what we should strive for. Do something for the common good.